And I'm very excited to bring out this distinguished panel. Have you ever been called distinguished? Because this is it now, it's happening. Dr. Njoki Ndiba is a political commentator, social scientist, and ran for MP in Dagoretti South on a Jubilee ticket. Thank you for being here on NTV.
It's great to be here.
And Nerima Wako is back with us, Executive Director of the Siasa Place. Always great having you on our air.
Thank you, Larry.
And Dr. Wendy Njoya is with us for the first time. We're very excited.
I'm happy to be here.
And the other Dr. Njoki Ngumi, works in learning and development at the NASA and Jubilee Fund, is a political commentator. Welcome to Prime Time.
Thank you, Larry.
You wake up at ungodly hours with Dibal.
But I'm here with you now.
Excellent. Listen, we had the final speeches today from President Uhuru Kenyatta and from Raila Odinga. I wonder if either of you listened to those speeches and the general tenor of their campaigns. Was this, for you, a convincing pitch to the people of Kenya to elect them? Dr. Ndiba, I want to start with you.
Yes, it was. We'll comment about the Jubilee Party.
Right.
The president preached about peace. He talked about unity. He talked about the accomplishments of the Jubilee government and why it is important.
And then he prayed.
And then he prayed. He's a very prayerful person. And then he talked about the importance of Jubilee being given a second chance to complete what they already started. They have accomplished a lot.
Nerima, you were sitting here watching the two campaigns. What was your sense?
I have to agree with Dr. Njoki. I found it interesting that he did pray. However, I felt that Ruto used that time more wisely to me. He pinpointed on what they've been able to do, using the number of schools, the healthcare centers, and he hit it on the nail. As for NASA, I would talk about, it was interesting to hear Raila say that he would take care of corruption. For him, that was his main agenda. He was going to sweep out corruption when he entered government. And also, you know, calling out voters to come out in large numbers, but also in a sense to also guard their vote. So there was still that notion of make sure after you vote, still sort of guard it. So it makes you wonder, are you double speaking? Because the day previously you said, you know, vote and go home and leave it in the hands of the polling station. So at the end of the day, whether they manage to speak to those who are not quite sure who they are voting for, I don't think so. They were still talking to their overall crowd, the bubble that they're sure about.
Dr. Njoya, who was more convincing?
Oh my, I'm going to pass on this one. I'm a YouTube baby, so I have to catch up with what they said. But usually,
the tenor of the two campaigns, who do you think has been speaking to the issues Kenyans care for?
The issues, I think it's debatable whether we are concerned about the issues, and that has been my beef for the last few weeks.
Right.
That we are not concerned about the issues and we are more concerned about the personalities. Yeah.
But isn't politics about personality, though? You can't separate the two, the issues and the personality, at least not in Kenya.
Well, in this case, there are no issues, so it's only personality. We need both. And the issues have not done very well, and actually it got worse. Initially, when the manifestos were released, we were talking about it, but towards the end, it has tapered off, and now, you know, we are even seeing politicians trading insults. So I think we forgot that it's really about us and not about them.
Dr. Ngumi.
I really like what Nerima said about speaking to the bubble that you've already convinced. I don't think there's any convincing of new people at this point in time. And so I haven't even listened to these last speeches with the hope that one of them is going to, you know, kind of change my mind. I already had concerns about how late manifestos came into the game.
Yes.
Across the board, even with regard to Senate, governorships, things like that, things that matter, especially on the county level. It's odd to me that there's no very clear image about what people want in the counties. And I think for me, I'm far more interested in what the regional elections are going to do, because they have the most potential to touch the direct lives of the direct lived experiences of Kenyans. But back to the campaign trail. I've been interested in the cultural moments we've been seeing. I'm especially taken by the way in which Kenyans have kind of taken the whole Canaan narrative. I think that's very interesting.
Yes.
I think we need to explore why. I think a lot of it has to do with the stuff that's brought up in Article 43 about dignified living, and the ways in which Kenyans treat one another better when they feel like they're on the same kind of socioeconomic space. So that is interesting for me. Again, it's also interesting for me the way in which some parties lean towards getting us more involved in market, getting us more involved with jobs, getting people ways in which they can live better. So I think both of these have interesting points. But they're not saying anything new at this point in time. And so even this kind of last minute come out and vote or the prayer, all of these are just kind of culminations of what they've been doing this whole time.
Okay, how radically different are the visions that NASA has offered for Kenya and Jubilee's? I don't know who wants to take this first. Are they so significantly different, what NASA is promising from what Jubilee is promising? Based on your, yes, Nerima?
Well, let's talk about education for one. So both of them are talking about free education in primary and secondary. But what they're talking about is how one is, I think, saying September, the other one is saying February.
Yes.
So those are the differences, the timelines. But education is part of our constitution. Article 55 is the youth, article in our constitution. But it talks about every young person having access to education. So I believe that the issues that we're also facing, we're talking about unemployment, corruption, healthcare, security, those issues are similar. So solving them, they're not going to be that different. So for me, it's not shocking that their goals are the same because the issues are the same.
I think that they were radically different in terms of their orientation, which I think is very important.
Right.
The NASA manifesto focuses on the people, on justice, on historical injustices that we have to sort out. And I think my favorite is to end the culture of Madarao, where, public servants behave as if we are there to serve them rather than the other way around. So for me, that was very radical. And for Jubilee, it's business as usual. It's a very business market-oriented manifesto, which for me was quite disappointing but not surprising, because that is the trajectory Kenya has been taken on for the last 50 years. But when it comes to the issues, they tend to be the same, and I think that is an indication that Kenya has not yet developed a different narrative from what we've been having for the last 50 years. But I think it's a welcome change in orientation, and this is something that we need to start talking about.
You don't know a Jubilee ticket. Is Jubilee offering business as usual?
Not quite. I think this administration should be given credit because, for instance, when they talk about education, even though both are talking about education, Jubilee is more believable, because when you talk about having free education in 2 weeks' time, I mean, that is not going to happen. We can see what Jubilee government has done. We can see free health care. We can see free immunizations for under 6 years old. When we talk about employment, the Ajira program is there. We have about 1,000 people recruited. There is about 1 million jobs that are going to be created. Jubilee has done a lot. Free maternity, and that's why they actually need to be given more time to complete what they started.
Dr. Njoki?
I think I'm very sensitive when it comes to health, and we never talk about the fact that our
because you're a
nurses,
medical doctor.
Right, and our nurses are still on the streets, and there's been an odd and troubling silence about that, which I think is very disrespectful to the kind of work that the nurses do, especially with regard to free maternity. And so I think even the Ministry of Health were tweeting the other day and talking about, free maternity, but then the nurses are on the streets, and so you can't talk about those things as though they exist separately. The thing I will say, however, is that I think it's possible. I feel like they're saying similar things in a sense. I think it's possible to be market-oriented while looking to the dignity of the people. I think it's possible to seek justice while understanding the fact that we are in a space that needs to be engaged in market better than we are already. And I think both the manifestos cross into each other in that odd sense. The thing I will say that they're completely similar in is the complete absence of women's agendas. There's just been it's been a very male campaign. People have been pulling in, but women, I have a friend who is a woman. These women are nice. This individual woman is wonderful. It's odd for me when we talk about the positions of women in society, but we don't talk about women in the House. Neither party necessarily stood up to go forward with the constitution with regard to the 2/3 gender rule.
Okay.
And so that for me is troubling.
Let's leave it there for the moment. We're coming